Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I'm Roop. I'm sorry I'm late. I was taking a shower, as you can probably tell from my hair. Yes, 100% transparency. That's the goal here on TC San. I'm back with Murgi, Dal Barabar. And of course, my husband tells me that I treat this show like a stepchild because I don't really care if I'm on time. I don't really care if I'm ready. I don't really care if I'm prepped. I don't really care if I have questions all prepared. But we have help today. We have a special guest for the first time on Ghar Ki Murgi, and I think this is going to become a pattern because I think Pavan and me will run out of things to say eventually. So we have a guest. She's a friend of mine. She is a brilliant chef who puts amazing photos of food on her Facebook all the time, and which I haven't got to taste yet, but we are making plans for me to go over to her house this summer, hopefully after we're all vaccinated. So she is an amazing chef, and she's been dabbling in Indian cuisine lately, and she's been wondering, we've been talking about it on and off, and she's starting a podcast with her friends about food as well. We'll talk about that too. And Pavan has always been a food I'm not going to say expert. Well, he claims to be an expert of food, especially Indian food. And he reads books on food quite a bit. The history of food, of course, that's Pavan. He reads everything about everything. So I'm going to bring them both on screen today. I'm going to take a back seat and listen to them and pop in with questions. So if you have any questions about Indian food, please do pitch in those questions. I will be moderating the conversation today. So let me bring both of them onto the screen while I chill and drink some water. I should have waited for Ali to play that ding, 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 the entry. Oops. All right, I'm going to put my headphones on. Pavan, everyone knows you, so go ahead, introduce yourself again.
That's
it?
And I am, irrespective of what Roop claims, I am an expert on Indian food. I'm a good chef. I create real good culinary skill. I have amazing culinary skills. I own it.
Right.
Good stuff.
Right. And
Yeah.
Sarah, Sarah is actually an expert because I wish I had actually, while you guys talk, I'm going to go to her Facebook and get some photos and insert them into the stream so that you all know how good she really is. So, Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
I'm Sarah, and I am no chef. I'm a home cook, and I am an expert in eating food, and especially Indian food. I love Indian food. So I'm very happy to be here talking about this because there's so much to know.
Oh, absolutely. And Sarah, would you mind sharing your ethnicity as well? Because I think that provides context to the conversation too.
So I was born in Singapore, but my family is from Sri Lanka. My mom actually was born in Singapore as well, but my dad was born in Sri Lanka. So we've got a family that's still there, that still talks to me about recipes from that area. And, you know, there are a lot of similarities with Sri Lankan food and certain foods, Indian foods from certain parts of India, right? So yeah, I'm just excited to delve right into this.
Perfect. So just to let our audience know, we're going to be talking about only Indian food today. So, and only Indian food, I think it sounds so diminishing to the idea of Indian cuisine because only Indian food comprises of hundreds of
what does that mean, right?
But
what does it even mean?
Sorry to jump in. Indian food has been influenced by food from all over, starting from from whenever there were visitors. There is no such thing as Indian food which we talk about. So when you talk about Indian food, there has been influences from every part of the world. So we have influences, amazing influences.
Yeah, so we can't really Indian food between me and you, Pavan. Indian food there's no similarities. I was telling Sarah yesterday, well, there are similarities, but there are stark differences. I was telling Sarah yesterday, I cannot cook anything without cumin. And Pavan, I've seen your mom cook. She doesn't really necessarily add cumin to everything. And then mustard seeds. I have never really seen growing up that my mom adding mustard seed to
So
anything.
you've never in Punjabi food, there is no mustard seeds in that cuisine?
There may be, but I haven't seen my mom use them.
Right.
It's very we use mustard seeds in maybe pickles, but that's what
Right.
I've seen. Perhaps like someone else who knows better about
Mustard
food can tell
oil
me
is
better.
more common than mustard
Yeah.
oil is more common than mustard seeds.
oil.
Mustard,
Right.
yeah, mustard seeds in South Indian cuisine. Mustard seeds come in at the end when you add a tempering of different spices and then add that tempering to your cooked food. So South Indian food is not done until you add a tempering of spices and mustard seeds, and the mustard seeds have to split in hot oil. That's when they spread that mustard bitterness, a little bit of mustard bitterness, which gives it a punch. So
I always burn them. I always burn
the oil, right?
Yeah.
So
so
it's the sound which is important there. So you have to hear for the tip tip tip, like the mustard seed spluttering. That's when you have to switch it off and lift it out of the fire, and then let that spluttering happen spontaneously, not under the fire. If you keep on under the fire, the membrane on the top of mustard seeds is very, very delicate, so it burns.
Yeah.
That's what I do all the time. I burn mustard seeds. I still don't use them.
Oh, right. Because it's something new for you, I suppose. I mean, fairly new, I guess.
Yeah, I tried once. I think I made tomato rice and I added mustard seeds. So I thought I was playing, well, not playing, but I was being this wonderful wife to my husband, and he was not feeling very well. I made him tomato rice, South Indian style. So I used mustard seeds and I used everything that I thought was South Indian, and he didn't eat it because it tasted nothing like what he expected. Yeah.
I would never ever say that I would.
You did that to me, but you were not well at the time, so it was not. But if you were well, you would have eaten it. You were not well, so you're like, oh, this doesn't really taste.
Yeah, let's blame it on he wasn't feeling well. So
yeah. All right, so I'm gonna let you lead, Pavan. I know you've been reading a book about Indian cuisine, so can you tell us what that book is, and then tell us what you're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so it is sort of a textbook. I was just talking to Sarah about it. It's called the Historical Companion of Indian Food by K.T. Achaya. He's a history professor, and it's published by Oxford. It details about the history of Indian food, starting from archaeological evidence to written history to oral history, and he goes quite a bit into from the origin of Indian civilization to till now. So there is a quite bit of Indian food happening there. So that's the book I was reading. But also, I'm very interested in origin of the basic food what we eat. So I've been talking to my dad is a ancient Indian history professor. So he has a PhD in ancient Indian. His main topic is origin of place names. So how did a place name? What's the story behind a place name? So and he's quite interested in that. So for me, food has always been very interesting. For me, food and culture go very close and by together. So I was very interested in what is the origin of the food we eat, what happens. And I lived in different parts of India. So I have noticed that the food is quite different in different parts of India. So that's where my interest in food comes in. So that I've been trying to figure out what is Indian food per se, and how did we? And the other thing is, the other big strand which really wanted to delve deep into it is this idea of vegetarianism in Indian food. So I was thinking, my family is vegetarian, so I wanted to see when did India become vegetarian? Was India ever if you think about it, Indians have the biggest percentage of population in the world are vegetarians. I think around 19 to 20% of Indians are vegetarian. That's a huge amount of. So I wanted to see why is that so? So there are various things I was wondering about it, and I've been reading about it. I've been thinking about it. So I have few ideas about it. So what's Sarah, what's your experience of Indian food? Did
Experience with Indian food.
you grow up in a household cooking Indian food? What did you
So I did. Like I grew up in Singapore, and we've got, three main cuisines there. We've got South Indian, right? So more Tamil, and then we've got Chinese, and we've got Malay. And so every time we went out, we ate, all sorts of foods, and Malay culture and Chinese culture have had also an impact on the kind of South Indian food there is in Singapore. But at home, it would be mainly South Indian food or Sri Lankan food, really South Indian. There, it's very surprising that in Singapore, there's not much access to Sri Lankan food at all. But that's fine, because the South Indian food was fantastic. The Tamil food, I should say, specifically, right? So I grew up with a lot of rasam and sambar, and, the sort of the thicker, more coconut-based curries and rice. And I don't know if you guys know this particular dish. It's called string hoppers or idiyappam. Yeah, like stuff like that. And then, of course, we had dosa and idli, and then all the Indian sweets that we would buy. We would never make ourselves. We would just go buy from the store, and, lots and lots of spices. But it was not till much later that, we moved here, and my mom actually moved back to Singapore for a job. And so all of a sudden, my dad and I are here, and we're suddenly craving a lot of foods. And I go, uh-oh, one of us has got to start this cooking, because we started missing Indian food a lot. And that's where, all these sort of Indian cooking journeys and learning about how complicated and how diverse, food can be from that place. And, it's not an easy cuisine to start learning, is it? Unless you have someone there.
No, there are
right
many layers to it. So and it's not like you can master this art of cooking by just watching a video. Or there are so one thing is, like, there are no recipes. I have never seen a recipe being written down or anything. It's just that you watch your mom cooking in the kitchen, and then it's like learning a language. There is no recipe for it. So it's just passing the culture down. So that's how you learn. And then the spluttering of mustard, it's a very very small difference in when you take it out of the fire or when you keep it on the fire. It's like, unless someone tells you in a very particular time, you would not be able to know the subtle difference. And also how much tamarind you need to add, what sort of, because it is a very, and then my mom continuously tastes it to adjust the recipe. It's like a chemical reaction you are trying to do, and you are continuously adjusting, and you going to do that. And but I want to talk to you about idiyappam. So this is a very cool story. It's appam is a very very quintessential southern tip of India. So it's Kerala and southern Tamil Nadu's dish. It's a very ancient dish. It is cooked in bamboo, hollow bamboo sticks, and then it is steamed in water. So it is one of the most ancient, but using technology available at the time. So using rice gruel, and then steaming that in a bamboo stick, and then using the strands come out, and then vegetarians eat it with a vegetarian sort of a gruel, and the non-vegetarians eat with fish or chicken, and then there is eggs. So this is and it's one of the first breakfast dishes. There are various ways of making this appam. You make an appam. There are appams which are deep fried. There are appams which are shallow fried. This is idiot.
Sorry, Pavan, just a second. I'm going to bring appam on the screen. I don't know if this is what you're talking about.
Yeah, this is an appam.
This is appam.
This is appam. This appam is made with in a shallow dish. So it's like a thick rice batter. You put it and you roast it with an outside fire, and then you take it out. and then it's like a dosa but in a bowl shape. So
is it rice?
Yeah, it's a rice flour.
So it's like idli.
Very similar.
But the middle part of it has coconut milk in it, correct?
Yeah. So it is cooked with some sort of a coconut milk.
Yeah.
So coconut milk is put in it, and then this appam also it's rice and coconut mixture mixed up and ground up into bamboo, and then use that in the bamboo. Right. So it is a coconut. It is a very, very ancient South Indian dish.
I'm going to intervene here. So when we talk South Indian food, again, from a North Indian perspective, because both of you have you were exposed to South Indian food growing up. Mm-hmm. So from a North Indian perspective, our idea of South Indian food is sambar, dosa, idli. And that's where it's limited to those three. And dosa, of course, we made the hybrid dosa as well. We add paneer to it. We add chicken to it. We add, all our chaats to it. Whatever possible, we stuff it in the dosa.
It's not dosa. It's dosa. Dosa.
Yeah, and we call it dosa. It's supposed to be called dosa, so I've corrected that now. So I call it dosa now, and we call it dosa as well. Idli is supposed to be idli, but we call it idli. So it's the opposite. So it's supposed to be idli, and we call it idli. And dosa is supposed to be dosa, and we call it dosa. So I find that very interesting. So so South Indian people, for North Indian people, that was our idea of dosa and sambar. And dosa is not complete unless you stuff some paneer in it, which Pavan told me was blasphemy.
Oh, paneer, and paneer, I didn't even come across paneer till I came to Calgary.
That's what Pavan tells me. That's what Pavan tells me. Well, we grew up eating paneer dosas, so it was very interesting.
For me,
I didn't even know.
I went to school in North India, so for me, paneer. When I was only 22, in my grad, for my engineering, I went to North. That's when I saw paneer. For me, paneer is something very exotic you see in Bollywood movies.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So I thought it was tofu for the longest time. I didn't know what it was because I'd never come across it. And it's quite an interesting texture. My husband loves paneer, loves it.
Yeah.
Right. And
we had an argument yesterday because Arohi and in the paneer, Pavan put paneer in the fridge where we put cheese. And I'm like, paneer's not cheese, it's casein. And Pavan's like, no, it's cheese. And I'm like, no, paneer's not cheese. So we have to settle that argument too eventually. But I'll let you get back to the Indian food.
Okay, that's good to know. Something I need to learn about.
No, paneer is cheese actually. Paneer is an uncured cheese. So it is milk curds. And South India has a very strong. It's not as strong milk-based culture, but South India has milk-based culture. Cooking rice in milk is very ancient too. So that's payasam. Payasam is a very very ancient dish too. Cooking rice in milk, and you cook rice, coconut, and milk. So there is that dish too. So cooking in milk is a very ancient way of Indian cooking too. So I was reading in this book, all over India there has been dishes with which were cooked in milk, but slowly I haven't really seen that part of Indian cuisine. And then this Dr. Acharya says that art of cooking vegetables in milk is lost. Mm-hmm. There is avial in. Have you heard of avial, Sarah?
No.
It's a dish in Kerala, which is a very quintessential Malayali dish. They cook different kinds of. It's a stew, which is a vegetable stew with strong coconut base. They do add milk to it, but they add milk at the end to make it creamy sort of a texture. Right. But it's not cooked in milk. But in India, there has been in ancient India. There was a lot of preparations cooked in milk. There were references of these vegetables cooked in milk, but we lost it. I wonder why.
Right. We have tori that I cook in milk.
Yes, you do that. Yeah.
I have
but you don't cook
zucchini
in milk though.
tori.
You add milk at the end.
Well, I add milk and I let it stew in the milk for like 15, 20 minutes, like simmer in it. So I cook zucchini. I cook oppa squash in milk as well. You can cook carrots in milk as well. You see some parts of Punjab, they cook
Yes.
carrots in milk.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's
I've come across
so
that dish before, actually, somewhere here in Canada. But yeah. But I actually, getting back to the appam thing, I was actually talking about something a little bit different, and I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's called string hoppers. Do you know that dish?
Yeah,
No,
so it has a tube, and when you push it down the tube, there are holes which comes out of the So it is just a variation of I wanted to make that connection, but so it started cooking to be in hollow bamboo sticks, and then the next thing was to make it, because it was come out as a big lumps, and it was not very palatable, and it was a new addition to put that thing so that you could push it down and it comes out as strings. So
like
it's
a
it's like
noodle almost. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
it's
you
like a
sort of
noodle almost. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
I have those bamboo baskets to actually make the idiyappam in, which is so delicious. And so I don't think it's like Roop, you don't know what that, like, did you grow up eating that?
Yeah. There, can you see it on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I have never seen these before.
Yeah. Have you ever tried one? No. Okay.
So now you know what to feed me.
Now I know what to make.
And I got a picture of Avil too that Pavan was talking about.
Right. Oh, okay. So I do know a little bit about Malayali food because my best friend growing up was Malayali, and I was always at her house, and her mom cooked all the time. And wow, such good spicy food. So flavorful. One of the, like, a real, it's got a real punch to their food, right? Because it's extremely spicy.
Yeah, they use mustard oil too, and the other culture which uses a lot of mustard oil in their cooking is Bengali food.
Right.
And then I think they use both mustard oil because they cook mainly seafood, and then I think mustard oil, seafood in mustard oil, and all of that. That's where that's the taste comes out with mustard oil. That's my very laymanish idea of why, and that's the reason. And Kerala, they cook in coconut oil too. So coconut oil is one of the oldest oils. Sesame oil and coconut oil are the two mediums which ancient India knew. So they were those two oils were the ones which they were cooked. So coconut oil. Kerala actually has one of the oldest cooking ways and coldest cooking techniques in all over India. There have been, and they had these cultures coming from in Kerala during just first century AD or very early on. Syrian Orthodox Christians came in because they were being persecuted. So they came in, and then they brought a lot of Middle East cultures, and the Arab traders around the same time too came. So there were Christian, Muslim, and Hindu cultures mixed up, and Kerala really had a potpourri of different things coming up, and it's an amazing. If you want, if someone says that, oh, I want to go to India and taste Indian food, I would say you should go to Kerala. Like if you go from north to south of Kerala, just on that coast, it's an amazing dishes, varied after varied. You would get in middle of Kerala, you would get a very strong South Indian, like Tamilian culture there. North Kerala has a very strong Middle Eastern / North Indian Goan food, and when you come down south, it's a very different appams, idiyappams. It's an amazing. So if someone says that, oh, tell me a place where I would like to taste Indian food, I would say go to Kerala.
Yeah. Well, Pavan, it's funny you say that because, and maybe if you ever come across why I think this, maybe you can let me know. When I know we're not talking about Sri Lankan food, but when I think about Sri Lankan food and the stuff that I've tasted, I would almost compare it more to Malayali food, Kerala food, than to actual Tamil Nadu food, which is funny because we are Tamils, right? like there are Tamils in Sri Lanka, and there's actually a Bengal influence in Sri Lanka, and they're called the Sinhalese. And I find that the food there is actually shockingly more similar to Kerala food than to Tamil.
There is a reason for that.
Oh, there is. See,
Yeah. So there is a strong influence of culture, trading influence between Malabar traders. They were called Malabar traders. These were the traders which were trading with Sri Lanka. So these were the traders from Kerala, region of Kerala, and somehow they're of the Maldives, Sinhalese, and Kerala share similar culture, because there was a lot of trading and cultural significances between these two.
Right.
And Tamils were a very later implant in Sri Lanka. They were taken in early 18th century by British to work in the tree plantation. So they were Tamils were an imposed sort of an artificial plant there. But this was a very organic. The cultures of Sinhalese and Malayalis and Malabar traders, this was very, very organic, and lot of Buddhist influences, because most of the Buddhist influences in Sri Lanka, like in Sinhalese, are mainly Buddhists, and these Buddhists came from during the Ashoka time. There were a lot of Ashoka's son. I forgot his name. He was the one of the first missionaries who went to Sri Lanka to propagate Buddhism in Sri Lanka. So that's where the influence of Bengal comes from in Sri Lanka.
Right.
Because Magadha was in Eastern.
Wasn't it Mahindra?
I don't remember.
Or Sanghamitra.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, Sanghamitra. I think that.
Oh, there is so much to talk about. How are we doing with time? It's only 35.
I know it's this kind of talk makes me really hungry. But one thing
you guys didn't answer. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But you haven't answered Anusha's question. Any thoughts on Pongal?
Yeah, Pongal is another ancient dish. So there was this dish is a very, very straightforward, simple dish, cooking rice with another lentils. So in fact, there is a recipe book by a king in Rajasthan or Gujarat, around that Saurashtra area, where they mention a dish for a khichdi. Like it's a recipe for khichdi. Khichdi was one of the big dishes in a king's court, it seems. So it was rice cooked with lentils, spiced with different spices. Is a dish fit for royals. So and I think this changed because there was a strong Vaishnavite influence. Vaishnavas were a sect of Hindus who were vegetarian again. So this dish, I think it is a flip on very ancient dish in India, which is names like very similar to palau, but it's not palau. Like it's a very similar dish, but it's rice cooked with minced meat. So we were talking about how Ghar ki Murgi means like a really, really rich protein, and dal is a poor protein. So this was it's a khichdi is like a palau made with the dal rather than a meat. So it's like a palau or a dish made with rice cooked with meat, but with lentils this dish is a very, very popular dish, which is all over India. It's in Pongal, in Pongal, in Tamil Nadu and in Andhra Pradesh. It is cooked with sugar or jaggery in it. You know, jaggery, right? It's like sugar or jaggery to cook like kheer. But with there are lentils also in it, and then it's cooked it shows abundance in it's like symbolizes abundance. So after harvest,
I think it's eaten around harvesting time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a harvest festival.
Special, festival.
So you cook with milk, lentils, rice, jaggery, and milk, and you put all of them and cook them together. So you get all of the abundance in it.
How is it different than kheer or payasam then?
There is no lentils in it.
Oh, in the kheer.
It's all rice.
Yeah.
And it's lumpier. It's not so smooth. Yeah. It's not really broken down rice. And I think it's a red rice, isn't it?
Yeah, so
Or
there are
it's a
varieties of
puff-
rices too,
Okay.
which you would like to use, but I'm not really sure what symbolizes what, but it is a dish where you cook. It's a communal thing. You just cook on it, and then you cook in the middle, and you let it overflow, saying that we have an abundance of harvest,
Right.
because all the harvest, rice comes through, lentils come in the harvest, and then sugarcane comes in the harvest, and cows are in abundance, so you can let it overflow. So that's
Right.
the
Right.
symbolosis of
Symbolic.
the pongal. So this is a very quintessential, like khichdi again is like a very, very quintessential, like Gujarati food. There is a khichdi. There is, and Roop makes khichdi whenever she feels slow. So it's like it really perks her up. So it that's, and it's
Comfort
very,
food. It
and
is
it's
the
very straightforward
ultimate
to cook.
comfort.
You just cook rice and those moong dal together, and add some spice, like some garam masala to it, and some salt, and this thing. That's it. It's like a very straightforward, simple dish to it,
Hmm.
and it really, really makes you feel better.
Just
Yeah.
getting off topic here. It very surprises me that Roop ever loses energy. She's always on the go. So I can't imagine that.
I think it's Pavan. Pavan's the only one who notices, like, who gets the brunt of it when I'm down and when I'm low, and he has to perk me up.
With
But
khichdi, that's the easiest pick me up food.
well, I don't eat Pavan's khichdi. I don't like anyone else making khichdi. I like my own khichdi, and I have my own style of making khichdi. So
Right.
I think curry is another one that varies from state to state. Khichdi, curry, and and I find them in like every cuisine. Everyone makes them in some shape or form, but it's so interesting for me to
Maybe
hear
you
you
should talk
talk.
about what kadhi is to Sarah. She may not understand.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. So, but it's so interesting. Yeah, I should. It's so interesting for me to hear what you guys are talking about, the whole South Indian cuisine. I'll repeat myself, like I said earlier. As a North Indian, our vision of South India is just this one big blob of land where all the people in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, everywhere in Karnataka, all of them eat dosas, and all of them eat really. Sambar in very
Sambar.
diluted form, and
Okay.
but the dals have no spice in them, and they're not spicy, or they're not hot. Like, that's what we imagine South Indian food to be like,
Oh, that's
especially.
interesting because I think South Indian food is spicier than North Indian. North Indian food seems to be really rich in fat, like milk, cream, right?
Mhm.
But then South Indian food has got this real punch with spices and chilies and coconut, and like I feel like it's like a very different. Am I wrong?
See, that's what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to touch on that, is because the idea of North Indian food is what we see in the restaurants here. Um,
Yes,
that's what
that's the
everyone
only.
here outside of India thinks what North Indian food is, but that's not what we cook in our houses. So in our homes, like, yes, there is dairy, but it's not heavily a dairy. Like Pavan was saying, that he hasn't seen a lot of people cooking milk. So there is not a lot of dairy in our food, in our regular day-to-day food. We have dal, we have sabzi. And I don't necessarily think like my food is high in fat at all. We don't add cream to anything that we cook.
Okay.
I've never added cream to anything I cook. So what
Right.
you see in the restaurants is an evolved version, or the British version of Indian food, because they took that food to Britain and they anglicized it. Or
Right.
that's what I feel. I mean, butter chicken was primarily
Butter
it became
chicken.
popular
Yeah.
in Canada. Oh, sorry, in
Yeah.
England. In India, who cooked butter chicken in their homes? It was discovered in one of the restaurants in a fancy hotel in Delhi.
That's
But
right.
in Punjab, no one cooks. I mean, now they cook it because now it's popular, but it's not originally traditionally
Yeah.
a Punjabi dish.
I have a real
Yeah.
love-hate relationship with butter chicken. Sometimes I love it, and sometimes it's just like someone just poured a bag of sugar into it, and I'm like, what have you done to this dish? This is no longer Indian. But
Yeah.
when you guys invited me here, I was a little bit worried that I didn't know enough about Indian cooking to be here. But one thing and I started reading up today about the different regions and the different kinds of foods, and one part of India that I really know nothing about cuisine-wise is the northern western part. And so you've got like a lot of Tibetan influence and Chinese influence in those cuisines, apparently. I've only had momos in Nepal, which is this dumpling that reminds me a lot of a Chinese dumpling more than anything Indian, really. Have you guys ever tried food from that area or know anything about it?
East, right? Northeast.
Yeah.
Northwest. So I'm talking more north. I believe I'm talking more northwest. Let me just.
So Nepal is in the northeast, and northwest becomes Punjab and Haryana and
Pakistan. Pakistan is on the west, and then you have China and Tibet. That would be northeast.
Places like I'll just name it. So Sikkim.
That would be northeast.
Sikkim is northeast.
Oh, that's northeast. I might turn this around then.
Yeah, you need to flip the map.
My map is turned around, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that area, so northern eastern food, I would really like to know more about, if you have any.
So northeast, it's a very, very, it's a totally as you said, rightly said, it's very influenced by Burmese cuisine, and it's very influenced by Asian cuisine. So there is a lot of dumplings in it. There are a lot of noodles in it. It's a very mixture of it's a lot of rice-based food. So it has a lot of rice and meats, barbecued meats and rice and steamed dumplings. It's mainly those are the main three things goes with it. So and that's the part where almost all over the world, they think that the northeast part of India or subcontinent, like Assam, Sikkim, that's the area where rice was cultivated by man first. So they think that's like the cradle of rice in all over the world. So that's where. Yeah, so that's like there is a lot of rice-based dishes and a lot of it's very meat-based. So Indian vegetarianism. So Indian culture, it is very much a mixture of lot of things here. It's not a Gangetic. It's not the plains of India's culture hasn't really reached there. So they maintain their own culture. So they had their own small isolated culture. So they are preserving it, which is very, very cool actually. So they have a lot of barbecued meats, so that's their main, and then they eat with the steamed dumplings. There is a lot of pork. Eating pork in around India is, you don't see that often, but there is a lot of pork in those cultures.
I want to interject here. In fact, yesterday,
because
Sarah was telling me yesterday that Goans eat a lot of pork.
More than that. In ancient India, pork was hunting wild boars was fit for a king. So even in Rajputs right now, they say before going to a war, they would roast a pig on a spitfire, and then they would eat and then go to a war. So even in so I was reading somewhere that Nihangs, the warrior class of Sikhs, there is a culture of eating pigs. I don't know how much is true or not. How much it's like a Rajput, like a soldier culture. Like before going to a war, eat a roasted pig, like a boar. A boar hunt is a very, very prevalent thing. I don't know how we lost that thing, but eating wild boar is considered to be is one of the delicacies all over India. So maybe because of the Muslim influence what we had, we lost that whole eating of boars in India. But eating boar was very prevalent in medieval times in India. So but that for Goa, I think it came from Portuguese. Goa was a Portuguese colony.
Right.
So Goa had a lot of Portuguese influence, when Europeans have a very good, very strong pork culture, and also Chinese. So they have a lot of pork culture in the northeastern states.
I see. Okay.
I'll pull the northeast states now. Finally, I got Sikkim there. All right. Are we done talking about northeast states now? I'm too late. I was working to get that map
Okay,
up.
but I wanted to give you a very simple way of cooking in a North Indian. Like this is my like cheat sheet of cooking a North Indian curry. The word curry comes from a Tamil and Telugu word called kura. Kura is a vegetable, and in
Okay.
my we say cooked or uncooked, you say kura. So that's a vegetable. So it comes from the English transliteration of curry kura. I will tell you the simple way if you want to try two different things.
Right.
How my mom does and my mother-in-law does, or that's what I will start with
Why
the
do you
South Indian.
always keep saying mother-in-law? Why not me? I don't like
Okay,
that.
okay, or my wife. But you are a fusion of everything. So
Hey, no, I'm a purist. Very
okay,
traditional.
or my wife does. So I think
Yes.
there is this so in South Indian food what you do is you try to, so if you're trying to make a potato sabzi or a curry, a
Mhm.
potato curry, what my mom would do is my mom would boil potatoes separately, and then what they do is she would fry some onions, and then she would put the potatoes in it and fry the potatoes with onions, and
Mhm.
then add peas together, and at the end she would take a tempering on the side. She would take a tempering of
Yeah.
um, she would boil some sesame seed oil or some oil, and then she would add cumin seeds. She would add two or three red chilies, dried red chilies,
Yeah.
and then she would add mustard seeds. And at the
Mhm.
end, when you lift it up, and then she adds a pinch of astafodia. You know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Astafodia, and then she adds that, and then mixes up the whole thing. And Roop, when she does it, is she makes a gravy of tomatoes, onions, gingers, and then deep fries them in a masala paste. So all the masalas are cooked in that gravy,
Uh-huh.
and then she.
But then
Okay,
you got
that's
the
no, not you. Okay, like I
no,
should not put. But
my
this
mom
is what
doesn't
I
cook
think as
like
a
that.
North Indian way of doing things is you make this like a base of with tomatoes, onions, ginger, and then
Garlic.
put and garlic, and then once that is you think that is cooked, and then you add that to it. So you
Right.
cook it in a base, and then there is no such base in South India. So you make them all together
You make it
almost at the
separate and
same,
then you bring it together, correct? You're talking about
and then
with
you
South
bring it
Indian food?
together,
Yeah.
and then the flavor comes out at the end when you add the tempering. So the tempering is done in the beginning in North India, but the tempering is done at the end in here,
Right, right,
and
right, right.
that's how those dishes like it's like a cheat sheet. It may not be, like, purists would frown upon, both sides of purists would frown upon it, but me living in both sides of, I straddle both sides of this culture. So if you want, like, that's the, if the takeaway is that for you is like, if you want to make a South Indian aloo, and or in no, South Indian potato and North Indian aloo, that's you would differ there.
Right.
I would add to it is straddling both words. So what I really or like about mixing the two cuisines is, like, I would cook it in the Punjabi way, in the North Indian way, where I'm sautéing garlic, onion, and ginger and spices, and then adding everything. So once everything is cooked, then I do the tempering on the side as well with the dried
Mhm.
chili, the dry
Right.
chili, the little
Yeah.
masalas, the hing, and all of that. So I'll do that on the side and add on top of that. So you
Right.
mix both of them. So,
You get a double dose.
it's amazing. That's like the most, because you get the color of the dry red chilies and the reds and the browns, and of course you get that
So
tempered flavor as
you're
well.
like the bridge between both.
Yeah, we mix it up. We mix it up nicely. So I guess I'm not a
It
purist.
works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, when I was sort of looking through all these different kind of cuisines, I was trying to figure out what actually. Now we know why it's all different.
Mhm.
How does it then come back to what is Indian food, right?
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah.
such
So
a thing?
I
Yeah,
don't
Um,
I have actually a question. I'll just add on to what Sarah is saying. Like, I want to know, why is it that Gujarati people, why do they add sugar to their food? Why is it that, in South India, mustard seed is more prevalent and we use a lot of cumin? Or why is it that meat is prevalent in some communities where other communities don't eat meat at all? So why do we have such stark differences when we're not like that far apart from each other, or even in terms of our land or our land fertility per se, or the crops that we are growing? Yeah, they differ, but it's not that starkly different. So why is it that cuisine changes every few kilometers?
Well, was India accessible at that point a long time ago? Was it accessible to get from one province to another? Was it easy? Maybe that's what gave all these distinct characteristics, because you weren't really traveling from one province and one area to another like you do now, right?
And I think people, I think Sarah and me talked about it yesterday, even people living within India, we're not aware of what the cuisine is or what the food is even a few kilometers down from us or up from us, right? Like, why? Let's talk.
Yeah, so the unifying aspect of Indian food is there is spices in all, like the similar spices are used in every part of the thing. There is this um, cooking spice in hot oil. It is a very, very strand, like this is either you cook spices in hot oil in the beginning of the food, or you cook in the spices with the hot oil in the end of the food. I think observing all through the part of it, I think the spices cooked in and the flavors, adding that spice to it is what makes an Indian food. I think that's the strand of Indian cultures passing through. Like if you imagine a trunk and every tree branching off, or all the cultures or all the different foods you have, that big trunk is the spices. Like India was called the island of spice island because I think cinnamon is an endemic thing to it. Peppers was endemic to it. The cumin seeds are very endemic to it, and all these seeds were endemic to it. And then cooking all of these in and spicing it up, all of this, even ancient, like onion is a very endemic plant to India. So onion is a very pungent root, and ginger and garlic and all of this has really, and India being a tropical country, they were able to get all of these vegetables and meat cooked in these spices, and that is what I think. If you say what is the essence of Indian food, it's the spice. It's the spice of cinnamon. All of this is putting together in hot oil and getting those flavors is what endemic to Indian food. And the richness of Indian food is just because India is a subcontinent. It's almost a continent. We have climates varying from sub-zero, like Arctic temperatures in the north, and almost every part of the climate is in India. So we have
dry, humid, cold.
Yeah, so we have the one of the wettest part is it's in Cherrapunji, is in Arunachal Pradesh, and we have, or in Meghalaya. Cherrapunji is in Meghalaya, one of the wettest place, and Thar Desert in Rajasthan, one of the driest place.
Yeah,
and we have a tropical, and then but what is amazing is there is this strand of commonality running through it, like a snake, like a big river. It's like all these rivers coming through with amazing. And then the more the cultures developed, the more everything came together, and we have an amalgam of different tastes, and these traders coming in from Arab traders brought their biryani and pulao. That's what happened, and
potatoes, tomatoes,
Portuguese.
peppers.
Portuguese have a huge. We need to thank Portuguese for potatoes and peppers and tomatoes. These three were they got from South America. See, these three plants were from South America. And imagine Indian food without all these three.
I know.
Tomatoes,
you can't imagine it. It goes
tomatoes, chili peppers, and potatoes is like
essential.
Yeah,
essential. So I went through all the sort of recipes, like just from the big main parts. And I was thinking, okay, if someone asks me, okay, look, I want to start cooking a whole bunch of Indian food tomorrow for the next week, and I don't want to go to the Indian store. I just want to go once. What do I get so that I can sort of cook all these different foods from different parts? Okay. I mean, there's no such thing. We'll be going to the Indian store a lot to get all these different kinds because, we use it to a different ratio. And then there's so many more spices that I'm going to mention. But think about this. These are the common sort of spices around all these different regions that we were talking about. Just to start cooking. Cumin, cardamom, fennel, hing, mustard seeds, cinnamon, coriander, black pepper, clove, nutmeg or mace. They call it mace. Fenugreek, turmeric, anise seed. And I'm not even talking about saffron or all the other things because there's other stuff. Like that's just, you get started, you already need 13 spices to get started.
Yeah, so not to scare people, I have a white friend who ate Roop's aloo matar, he calls it, and he fell in love with aloo matar. So he said that I'm going to make aloo matar from now on. So Roop got him started, and the one thing Roop gave him an idea of using garam masala as like the only spice. So I think for if you want to start cooking, just like very simple, like start caramelizing the onions and tomatoes and ginger and garlic. Just caramelize them. Just start with the ginger and garlic because they take long. So get your oil started and add ginger and garlic, and because they take longer, and then add onions, caramelize them a bit, like let tomatoes, and then add tomatoes. Let tomatoes just cook a little bit, not too much, and then add cooked potatoes, and then add garam masala, all of this, and put peas in it, and let it cook in a slow steam, and it's done.
Never let it stop you, right? I mean, that's how curry powder was born, was to make it easy. I mean, curry powder is not Indian.
No.
Right?
There is,
curry powder
and
is
so
British.
my mom doesn't use sambar powder. She makes fresh sambar powder, but the sambar powder I cook with that sambar powder, and it's for me, of all practical reasons, it's good. And sambar is so easy to cook too. Like you cook dal, like lentils, and then you steam the vegetables on the side, because if you cook vegetables with dal, vegetables become really, really pulpy on the side. And then when both of them are, you think they're not all cooked all the way, 3/4 cook, and put all of them together with sambar powder and some tamarind in it, and let it simmer with salt, and that's it. So it's a stew with vegetables and dal, and that sambar powder. You get the sambar powder you get on the store.
You buy it ready made, and you can buy it at Superstore. I think they even Superstore sells it.
Yeah, so the
MTR, I found it. Spices. They've got like a tandoor masala. They've got like all these different spices now that are easier to get
variations of the same thing. But if you get garam masala, I think you are 80% the way. You don't need to fill your.
You don't have to fill your pantry like I did. My pantry is full of spices.
And what's interesting is that like Pavan said, sambar is so simple, and dal is so simple, and when Pavan will cook it, it'll taste different than when his mom cooks it, when I cook it. So everyone cooks it differently. I don't know what happens there, like even if it's the same recipe, but everyone cooking, it tastes different. So
absolutely,
that's what I guess.
Even within the same culture, the family ratio is going to be different.
Families differ, My mom's family cooking is totally different from my dad's family cooking. There is no comparison. They're not even.
I can tell when
they're not even 100 kilometers apart. They grew up not even 100 kilometers apart. 100 kilometers is far. They're like not even less than 100 kilometers. Their family, and it's an arranged marriage. It's not, they didn't marry from different caste or anything, but they're even within the same caste and everything. Their household cooking is so different. For someone outside may not be able to tell the difference, but for me, I can tell the difference so well.
Well,
Okay.
even my mom and her sister, they grew up together in the same house, so you would think that their cooking would be same, but it's not. My
It's
mom
not.
and her sister, so I can tell when it's my Masi's food, and I can tell when it's my mom's food. I can tell from the
Right.
flavor of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say one is better or worse, but they're different.
Yeah.
So I can
different.
always tell them apart.
So yeah, every family is like little nuances vary, and then once you like you will tell the difference. Like this is my dad's side of food. This is my mom's side of food for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my dad makes fun of my mom's side of food, and my mom makes fun of my dad's side of food.
Ours is better. No, ours is better. I think that happens in every family, no matter what culture you're from, right? Right.
I judge cooks by their curry. That's my bar.
Maybe we should do a show on curry on its own. Curry is a yogurt dish cooked in basin, like the chickpea flour, yogurt and chickpea flour cooked in spices. That is a very, very quintessential Indian dish again, and every part of India has their own variation on that.
Right.
It is what's the time? Oh, we talked for an hour already.
It's Indian food. How can you not? You could talk for weeks about this and not even scratch the surface, right?
Yeah.
There's just so much to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, I think curry deserves an hour on its own, because curry that's my daughter's favorite food. It's my favorite food growing up. It's my sister's favorite food growing up. I don't know anyone except my uncles who he doesn't like curry.
My favorite food too. So if I were ever in a death row and they ask me what's your last meal, I would ask for curry.
Me too. I'll ask for curry and roti. And mirch, and I need a green chili, like pepper on the side.
Green chili, yeah. And let's talk about how many chilies there are in India. My goodness. We don't have to go too much into it because I know you guys are probably hungry, but many kinds. It's amazing, right?
No, I think, but we should wrap it up because, I want to wrap it up under an hour. So any last words, Sarah?
What's that?
Any last words?
Oh, just keep talking to me about Indian food. And if you ever want to share any recipes, I'll be happy to take them off your plate. I'll be happy to make some for you.
To cook together. Maybe we should cook together.
That would be so great. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll make a video. I'll make a video of you guys cooking.
Maybe we should do a cook together. So we try to make it. We'll try start with sambar, and then we can see what you remember and what new things I bring. So maybe we can cook sambar together.
Yeah, sambar from 2 different perspectives, right? Maybe get Roop in it, and then 3 different perspectives. So no,
I don't do
you would
sambar.
add paneer to it.
Hey, it might be a new thing. Why not?
That's how food evolves, right? If it stayed in a vacuum, it would not be such an amazing tasting Indian food as it is now.
Yeah, no, I love sambar. I love every variation of sambar. I think we need to. This was a very disjointed conversation, but I really enjoyed it. Thank you for all the insights, Pavan, and thank you so much, Sarah, for your time as well, and for, of course, your insights too. I think we're gonna wrap it up for now. But next time, I will write my questions down now that I have an idea of what all you're capable of. So I will write my questions down, and then we'll go over them one by one, and I'll try to moderate it a little better.
Yeah.
But this was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Gave me a little practice because we're about to start a podcast as well.
Yeah, let's talk about that
here, and it is about food. It's about just 3 people, home cooks. It's all about home cooking, and it's about simple dishes, and some are not so simple, but we try it out, and our kitchen is meant to talk to your kitchen. So if we come up with any hacks and tips and know how to make Indian cooking, say, for example, a little simpler by, don't go buy all those 13 spices I just spoke about. Go buy the masala spice and stuff like that. We try it out. We share our experiences. We're about to launch in a little bit here. So
yeah, we'll definitely talk about that in future as well. So I'll bring you back on and we'll talk about it for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm so
Thank
excited.
you so much for having me. This was really fun.
Thank you so much for being here. And I will say goodbye to everyone watching right now. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We had quite a few people watching today, actually. I wish you had asked more questions rather than just sitting there watching. But lovely, as always, talking to you, Pavan. Let's go talk some more later. And we'll be back next week. I think we'll continue this. We'll bring Sarah back on and I'll frame some questions for you guys and you'll answer them.
Anytime.
Maybe the next thing would be Sarah. Maybe Sarah, you should start a dish and then we can cook a dish and then we will analyze that the technique and we can see what we can do to that.
Let me know.
You guys make it sound so technical. Like I'm listening to you talk about cooking. And I'm like, I just do it very intuitively. Like think about it. Like think about what it tasted like in my head, right? Like what my mom cooked. And then you taste that in your head. Oh, this is what it tasted like. Okay, I think it had a little bit of cumin or it had a little bit of cilantro or whatever spice. Like you just think about it and you just keep adding that stuff and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, it's the peril of my training. I reconstruct everything and I go to the basics of it. So anyways, but if I'm open to that. So we next time we can talk about one particular dish and then we can try to deconstruct it and see how.
Let's do that. That'll be fun.
Oh man.
Okay, thank you very much, Sarah. I really enjoyed talking with you. And
really
thank you
enjoyed
for
it.
having me.
Thank
Bye
you
guys. Have a good night.
Have a good dinner.